Sita's Empire. Sita's society as we know today is divided into different layers, vertically and with heavy abysses between the layers. These are they. We have the upper class, to which not more than 3% belong to, the middle class with about 47%. Lastly we have the refused of society, 50% of the people. The middle class is also split into an upper middle class with about 17% and a lower middle class with about 30%. I show you the lives of those classes. First I lay aside the analyses of the upper class and go right to the upper middle class. The people who belong are in Western countries often successors of their parents' businesses. Perhaps you watching this video belong to the upper middle class. They often work as high-ranked teachers, professors, managers, not top managers, priests of worldly churches, high-ranked physicians, entrepreneurs with a business of medium size. Their lives consist of parties, smartphones, upscale notebooks, theaters, musicals, Starbucks, other expensive and often useless visits, Facebook, holy days on Hawaii, in South Korea, Saudi Arabia or other places full of oppression of Sita. Most of them never think of the empire of our Christ in heaven. They live in small villas or big flats, play expensive games, addict often averting shows. That is just as the parable says. There was a certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. At the end the oppressor got his well-deserved punishment. Today large parts of the upper middle class also thinks, everything is okay in the Western world. There would be only a few poor people, who voluntarily choose their miserable lives. They have no idea, what is actually going on in society. The majority of the lower middle class, the 30%, think similar, but their lives are quite different of their upper counterpart. They work as mechanics, lower-ranked teachers, lower-ranked physicians, masons, plumbers, policemen, cashiers. Their lives are just wealthy enough to hold their finances over the abyss, by sparing excessively heating costs and by forced stationery, which their children actually need for education. As many of them live in this nipper between existence and abyss, they often leave out their anger on their own children. The internet they use for Facebook and eBay, watch excessively TV, football or again some shows and divert themselves that way. They live in small flats of multiple dwelling units, leased or at high interest rates bite. This layer of society also have no idea, what's actually going on in the Western world. So far they are like the people of the upper middle class, just clearly poorer, but not poor enough to perceive the difference. Unsuspecting about the wrongfulness of society are both parts of the middle class. Those who have to suffer at most are the children of the middle and lower classes. 4 Galatians. Formerly, when you did not know God, you were slaves to those who by nature are not gods. 3 Titus. 3b We lived in malice and envy, being hated and hating one another. Now I tell you about the people of the lower class, or as I say, refused of society, since the lives today for them got so miserable, that you can't call them lower class anymore. They are those who really experience the wrongfulness of the world. Their number is about 50%. Surely some lying studies, agencies or other parts of the ministry of truth say that they are 20% or less, but all their statistics are lies to make Satan's empire look nice, blame the oppressed. But the Christ knows the truth. 2 1 John 7. Many deceivers, who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh, have gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist. The people who belong to this class are temporary workers, fringe benefit receivers, refuse collectors, black people, children of the middle class, housebreakers, thieves, unsheltered, inmates, perhaps you, the other you watching this. Their lives consist of trouble with police, agencies, the hopeless search for outbreaking of this dirt, living on streets, collecting bottles, getting lies told by the ministry of truth. It's obviously a life which nobody wants to have, but many have it. The people of high-ranked layers of society blame those of the lower classes, and that way they also treat them with violence, surveillance and money grabbing. How do they survive that kind of life? They don't do it at all. They suffer for years until they finally die, some with 30, some with 50, some can make it until 60 or 70, but that is no lives which someone wants to have. 1 Corinthians 23. You were bought at a price, do not be slaves of men. Now you surely can say that this kind of society won't be stable forever, as the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Somewhere there is a border, everybody who is over that border will in this society rise, the other are doomed, especially the younger generations. The border may be here, right between the upper middle class and the lower middle class. According to this, it's 20% who will rise and 80% fall into doom. But the border may be even more above, as the more above you are, the more possibilities you have to oppress the poorer layers. This also counts for the relation between the upper class and the upper middle class. It doesn't matter what capabilities you have. Depending on to which layer of society you are born in, you will either get pushed with coachings, gimmicks and connections to above, or abused by the ministry of love and getting lies told by some unknowing teachers, agencies, other parts of the ministry of truth and false friends from upper parts of society. The mendacity of society is also the reason why I let out the analysis of the highest class. I hardly know anything about them, nobody knows anything about them, except of they themselves. Because the ministry of truth does an absolute information block of the lives of the upper class, the inner party. What I tell you about the lives of the upper class is what everybody knows, but not everybody wants to know. They live in fat villas, do expensive parties with a massive devour of caviar, fancy cakes and baked snails, spend most of their time with building more fat villas on islands. From there they give orders to their managers, politicians, the outer party, how to more ruthlessly oppress the workers, tenants and taxpayers. More successful people from the upper middle class are also oppressing. They may not know that they are oppressing the poor, because you think your residence, your basement, your garden is built by happy slaves. Now let me go back to the end of this society. This pyramidal system is going to end up into two extremes. About 10% are going to move into the upper class and the rest will be slaves, but that's not all. Among that 10% there will be again a border between rising and falling. Then 2% will be in the upper class and 98% slaves. This continues until a single person has control over everybody else. This person will be the Antichrist, the Big Brother, residing in his space station or villa on Hawaii, threatening everybody with infinite torture, if they don't do what he tells. But that's not the very sure end for us. There is another possibility. As more people are falling into poverty, the more are waking up. Then society may find out about the dictatorship they have built. Rethink, who has more power than the NWO, has given the NWO its power and can take it the power again.
The only way out of it is through Christ.
5 Revelation 2 And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll. Now I show you Christ's plan, how to get out of this doomed place. I am going to build up my own empire. As I show you with this graphic, heaven is far bigger than the actual kingdom of Satan, his NWO. So be heartened. The Christ is my and your source of power. Defeat Satan with Jesus' power. Pray to him and I will stand you more by and show you more. 2 36 Chronicles 16 But they mocked God's messengers, despised his words and scoffed at his prophets until the wrath of the Lord was aroused. 14 Zechariah 5 You will flee by my mountain valley, for it will extend to Azal. You will flee as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah king of Judah. Then the Lord my God will come, and all the holy ones with him.